Welcome to another edition of Strange New Pod. I am your captain and host, Julian Brown, alongside the best bridge crew this side of Navarre, our resident admiral and all-around miracle worker, Rear Admiral Eric, the returning Borg Queen of Puns, who's ready to cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war, Lieutenant Brittany, our walking, talking memory alpha, Lieutenant Hawk, and the Ensign Admiral, Queen of Everything, Erin Jolan True. How we doing?
Jolan, true or false? You go first.
Jolan True, thanks for everything.
Basically.
I was missing those puns.
Jolan, truth or dare?
I choose to play the wrong intro. That's what
You
I
chose to play the wrong
never.
intro, as these things go. That's okay.
Tired.
Fix it in post. Fix it in post. It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
No one claimed we'd ever
We're
be
gonna have to destroy
organized.
Planet Canada now.
oh.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Guys,
Harsh consequences.
Commander Giraffe is off this week, but you can catch her tomorrow morning alongside me at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to keep opening our Borg Cube Advent calendar. We're on day 3 tomorrow, and that's every morning.
What'd you guys get?
So far, we've gotten, if it shows up, we got a little James T. Kirk pin, and
Cute.
we got some playing cards, which are pretty cool.
So it's going to be your
Nice.
third day? So you're board cubed?
Oh, boo, boo.
I gotta make up for lost
I
time.
liked it a lot.
Let's
We got
go.
it. We got it in. But yeah, you can catch her with me every morning leading up to Christmas tomorrow, live on Twitch. We're doing it every morning.
It's like Good Morning
Speaking-
America.
Exactly. Speaking of Twitch, folks listening and watching live tonight, one, as always, keep your questions, comments coming all night long. We're doing things a bit differently because of order and how the show was planned, and then guest having to record earlier. So on the podcast, Bonnie's interview, which is coming later, is going to go first. I'm going to introduce things a little bit differently. Tonight, you're going to get it after we do our disco review. So if things seem out of order, that's because they are, but that's doing things live in podcast land. So now that you've
I
been
like
told.
that you have hope that people both watch the Twitch and then they go back and listen to it on podcast.
You don't
You
know
should
how
see our
devout
podcast
people
numbers.
are.
They do.
And
Anyone
the
who does
YouTube.
that, you're
Hey.
a great
Hey.
fan. I love that.
I would even do that with our other podcast I have with Julian. I would listen on my way to my commute to my old job. I was like, yeah, we're
Aw.
hilarious. I'm going to listen to this again. It would make me laugh. It would get me through my damn day.
Just want to give a quick shout out to David, who is one of our previous guests, the host of Promenade Merchants podcast. He's in the Twitch stream watching
Hey,
along with us
David.
tonight. So
Heyo,
welcome,
what up?
David.
Hey.
This week, guys, we have a packed show. First up, a few of us did sit down with the voice of the USS Protostar's computer, also one of Erin's good friends, that is Bonnie Gordon. That's coming up in just a little bit. Then we review and break down Disco episode 403, Choose to Live, Friend. Choose to Live. Great episode. We're going to get all into that. But before we do, Brittany, since you're back, we need to thank our Patreon Collective members at the Ready Room level and above.
It's a me. That was me and my Chris Pratt impression.
Oh, God.
It's a me. Deep dive. You can tell I've been gone for a while because I'm just like, can I still make this joke?
How many puns can I
digress.
make in the first 5 minutes of the
They're
podcast?
bottled up.
Ding, ding, ding.
Special thanks to Simon Stager, Jeff Reeve, Mariah Gossett, Spotted Giraffe, Rob, Jen Stein, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Noe Santos, Kang Hui, Haven, Takako Nagumo, Kara Kennedy, Mark, Fernanda Nogales, SMK, Ian Davies, Amy Grace, and Laura Linderman.
Woo! Yay!
Perfect.
And
I was like, oh, there's more names. I was like, after Ian Davies, I was
yeah.
like, there's more.
guys, 'tis the season. If you'd like to show the podcast some holiday love, and you want to learn more about our awesome patron program, Patron Collective, go to strangenewpod.com, click on the Join the Collective link, get all the details about our Patreon. It's a lot of fun, and I think I'm posting a little surprise something there next week. So stick around for that. And people started getting their Vulcan pins, which came out really nice, Eric. Yeah, those ones.
Fun fact time.
Fun fact time. I made those.
You did. Guys, before we get into our interview with Bonnie and then our disco review, it is time for some of our favorite segments of the show. I don't know. Some of us like it. Some of us don't like the sound. I think we all like the segment. That is the Strange New Loop.
But the question's intense this time.
Yeah.
Right?
It is. Is there something in this world that you truly believe is a lost cause? And if so, would you take it on as a lost cause in the Quat-Malat way?
Does that
Don't
mean
all
like
go at once.
take it
This
out?
is a tough one. No, that means like,
Do I get the cool
would you take it
training and
on?
the sword as part of this theoretical? Do I get that?
I thought of something right away, but I'm not gonna.
I need to know the parameters before I can choose.
What do you mean?
I said, now in this scenario, do I get the Quat-Malat training to go along with?
Oh,
this
of course.
boss
Like, consider yourself a
okay,
Quat-Malat
cool.
member.
Yes.
Mhm.
Sword, I want it all.
You know they
Yeah.
have a workout
Costume
group.
and
It's called
everything.
Squat Malat.
Most
That should be a
illogical.
T-shirt.
We can do it.
We have the technology.
Squat Malat.
Quat-Malat. Oh my god.
To
I
call
just
and
feel
cat.
like it's so
Who's going first?
fatalist that it's rough to really, like, I feel like if we call it a lost cause, like, then you're really just admitting it is, but then yeah, you're gonna go fight it anyway. I don't know. I have a hard time, like, calling something lost.
Like we're too optimistic for this. I
I'm
don't
not.
believe in lost
I
causes.
know a lost cause.
Go ahead,
and I'll
Eric,
say
you
it
go
because I'm
first.
Canadian and I don't have to deal with them. Republicans. That is a lost cause.
Yeah,
my
you're
God.
not wrong.
I would
Okay, so we
not
all
take
thought
it
of the
on.
same thing immediately then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
I
go
didn't
first.
think about that, but I agree with you now.
I would not. I
100%.
would not take on that lost cause. Unfortunately,
I like the part where I get a spear to,
I think Eric just went first, right?
Yeah.
I
That's
did,
why I
Hawk, I
asked
did.
if it involved. I was like, do we? Or
I mean, yeah,
I don't
sure.
condone violence, but
Hawk, but it sounds like you have one ready, so I'll let you go.
Yeah, this question stuck with me all day, and then I realized I think I'm already in a lost cause in that, and trying to battle it anyways. Some of you know what's going on with my mom.
Oh,
Yeah, it's dementia, and if you know anything about it, it's hard to describe as a lost cause, but it does have a clear end to its path.
yeah.
It does. Yeah.
But
Been there,
at the
done
same-
that, my friend. I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Yeah. At the same time, you still approach it like a battle, and the way you sharpen your skills and you sharpen your weapons for that battle is with education, which I'm currently doing every Wednesday night. I'm doing some online training for caregiving for people with dementia. And actually, some of it's actually been pretty useful, but it's a lost cause, but at the same time, it's still a battle worth fighting.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed completely. Yeah. No.
Hmm.
Good stuff, Hawk. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, condolences. I know that's a rough situation to go through. I went through it. It sucks.
Somebody bring the mood up.
I'm gonna bring the mood down. I'm gonna go unless Brittany or Aaron's ready.
I was just going to compare it to my work. A comic shop where you get hundreds of thousands of comics in every day, and you got to keep constantly organizing them. Is there a point to it all? Is it a lost cause? Do I keep doing it anyway? Absolutely. So that's like a happier lost cause. I get lost in tons of comics because it's a mess.
But you do take on that lost cause and you make the shop look incredible with all the amazing work you do.
Ding.
So,
I only do 13-hour work days before holidays, though. You wouldn't know. You're like, wow, the store looks so amazing. Brittany didn't sleep last night.
And I am sure some of those customers may seem like, Quat-Malat assassins and that, trying to kill your mood and that. So
Some of them
There's
are.
yeah, like
Here's
the
what
ones that bring
lost cause.
spoilers in for a show that just aired the same day.
No,
Looking at
I mean,
people.
Jesus.
I missed that.
Anyway, no, it's terrible. Anytime there's a Marvel show or movie, like people
Oh.
just come in
no.
and they think they're like, because you work in a comic shop, they're like, yeah, I want your opinions on it, and just like roll it all out. And I'm like, if I've been here working all day and the movie just came out today, how the fuck do you think I've seen it? Like, I'm sorry, are we still PG? This isn't a Prodigy one, right?
No, it's not.
No,
Prodigy.
we're good.
Sorry, it's been a while. So I'm just like,
Oh, that's the wrong button. That
That's
works
me.
too.
but the worst are the fan theories where I'm just like, please. I can't even begin to tell you how wrong you are. Believe me alone. Sometimes they're fun and I like them. But I've heard
Nice.
them all. Ding.
Aaron, have you come up with anything yet?
I mean, I've got a dumb one. My dog Hilo, who's like 14 years old, lost cause was me thinking that he wouldn't be up on the couches and stuff. And I started out real good, and he was like 2 and not doing it, and then he like snuck up there, and I was like, ah, crap. So then I was like, I'll teach him to lay on this one blanket in this one spot on the couch, and that worked for like another 2 years. And it's like he would just get older and be like, I don't give a shit about this anymore, and then would just lay wherever. And then like, now he sleeps in the bed and does what he wants. So that's my lost cause. But I love him, and it's worth it because he's adorable.
Nice.
Aw,
Beautiful.
I
We'll
like
give that some lost applause with our lost paws.
Aw.
So
Sad time.
I have
Womp womp.
I have like the really deep one, but like I don't feel like it's something like a Kuat Malat member
It's
would be
about
able to
me.
physically would physically be able to fight because it's a global issue. So I'm not going to say that one, but if you get global, you probably know what I'm talking about. The one that I'm going to go just cut down every single server room and throw away like all the computers off of 70-story buildings, NFTs. I think it's a lost cause trying to get rid of them because I think they're happening whether we like it or not, but they're awful. They're awful for the environment. People need to stop fucking making them, and people need to stop buying non-fungible tokens, you fucking idiots. It's
It just
ridiculous.
makes me think of mushrooms.
Yeah. This isn't the Spore Drive. Like, stop it. It's so dumb, and I realize they're probably here to stay. It looked like they might die an early death, and then they didn't, and it's awful. And I'm going to just find every server that is hosting NFT shit, and I'm going to break them all.
Did you hear about the Matrix yesterday?
Okay.
Yeah, no.
They released 100,000 NFTs, and 330,000 people tried to jump onto the server at the same time and just blew it up.
Good.
They got it working.
Servers
So they
are
still
right.
sold it. But yeah.
Question.
Yo.
Yeah.
What's the ecological effect of NFTs on the environment?
Bad shit.
Bad shit. All the servers basically create emissions like anything else, and that is
Okay.
Yeah, it is
They got
bad.
a mind
And
for
as David
supplies.
says very simply, and it's true on Twitch, it's a scam. It's a whole damn scam, and it's true. So NFTs,
Okay.
I will take my sword to the servers, swish, swoosh, swash,
it.
and that's it. Don't choose to live NFTs.
You'll squash Malat them
I'm
all.
coming after you. Talix asks, can you take cryptocurrency while you're at it? They hurt my head. Yes, we could take crypto too. I will gladly bring that on my list of lost causes because crypto's here to stay too. Anything else for our really deep and dark strange new loop, but it felt necessary this week. I don't know. No, we're good.
I
We're
kept
good.
it light.
Okay, then you did. Thank you, one of us, for keeping it light. No, and Aaron's was light too.
Like, damn, it wasn't that sad.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Guys, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to hand the con over to Aaron as we interview the voice of the USS Protostar on Star Trek Prodigy, Bonnie Gordon. That's coming up next. Stick around.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are here with Bonnie Gordon, the voice of the USS Protostar's computer. It's so exciting. Bonnie and I are old friends, and I'm so excited she's on the show. Bonnie, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, and it's so good to see you, Aaron. Oh my gosh, it's been way too long. For those of you who don't know, we used to be next door neighbors, and I used to be your landlord. Well, not your landlord, but
Yeah, I mean, kind of, right?
sure.
We were like weird neighbors, and I've watched your cat, and then
Oh,
I get
yeah.
to like watch you be awesome in all these things, and now and we
Aw.
both love Star Trek, and you're on Star Trek, like living the dream.
I know it's been incredible. To be a part of actual Star Trek canon is kind of I won't say a dream come true because that sounds so cliche, but it is. So I'll be cliche.
Hey, cliche is okay. So, like, where does your Trek love start from? Because we all have our origin story, but do you want to tell that? Because you have a really cool history.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't a Trekkie until later in life. I know, all these people who grow up with it are just like, oh, sacrilege. I was like, no, I discovered it later in life, and that's okay too. And the people who are discovering Trek now with all the new Trek, that's okay too. You can be a Trekkie, no matter when you come into the fandom. There are no gatekeepers or ship keepers here. But no, I came into it later in life. I was living in Vegas and got cast in the Star Trek Experience, and it was an incredible show and experience, I guess you could call it, to be a part of. And that's when I realized I needed to actually start watching Star Trek and actually start understanding the fandom, because I would have to act as a Starfleet officer and improv with people, and if I don't know the lore, and apparently, I realized, like, in my first week of working there, I'm like, oh, these people know Star Trek. Like, I need to know Star Trek, because it's like they immediately start quizzing the actors, and it gets so awkward. And I'm like, I was like, I'm sorry, Prime Directive. Like, that was my answer for everything. I'm like, Prime Directive.
It's classified.
You are from the year 2008. I cannot break the Prime Directive. And they'd be like, okay, she does know her stuff. And inside, I'm like, what are they talking about? What is what I called it a Bolognian when I first, anyway, like bologna.
A Bolian,
Oh,
right?
Bolian,
Like the blue,
okay.
Instead
like
of,
Matza Barber.
they were asking me about a Bolian, and I said, a Bolognian? Like bologna? Like bologna? And anyway, besides all that, I started watching Star Trek, fell in love with it, and continued to watch all these years, would do rewatches on Netflix, go all the way back to original series, but start with Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, all of that. Did a rewatch recently throughout COVID as well, just because.
Yeah, I think we all did a bit of that.
I think we all did, yeah.
It gives us a little hope during these times.
Yes.
I was like, one day we'll all live in peace and harmony, and everyone will be united. Instead of
One
solving
day.
problems instead of solving problems yelling at each other, we'll all just like sit around a table and talk about peace and share.
Talk about replicator apples and how they're I'm not gonna swear, how they're poop.
How they're delicious.
I'm gonna be a good boy. Yeah.
Just just drink some blood wine and everyone toast to health and happiness. Anyway, that's the dream.
That is the dream. So we all have like a favorite character. Who's your favorite Star Trek character
of all time? Oh geez.
Yes. Big question.
It is. I gotta go with Data. I gotta go with Data.
Great answer.
Data's always my favorite. I have, you can't see it, but on my wall right in front of me is it looks like a painting, but it's a print, but it looks fancy. But it's a lovely print of Data, like in his uniform, looking all regal, holding Spot, and then and then it says around the border, easily distracted by cats in Star Trek. It makes me really happy. But no, Data's always been one of my favorites. Also Spock. I think I just really like emotionally unavailable men. So that's obviously where I'm going with that. Spock and Data. Yeah.
Amazing.
I think that Data would be a little bit disappointed that it's a print and not a painting, because he's a painter himself.
Yeah, well, guess who isn't a painter?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
So not everybody can paint Data. Not everybody.
Yeah. It's not part of my programming.
You actually already mentioned part of my question, but when I was really young, like right when Star Trek The Experience first came out, I got to go as a kid, and like I just remember being floored and wowed. Like when I stepped onto the bridge of the Enterprise D and was like, I'm only a kid, but I could probably die very happy right now and not have any worries. It was such a dream. But that's like so freaking cool that you were a cast member there. I guess there is some pun intended. Like, what was that experience like, and what did that entail? If you can go into more detail about like your experience there.
You know, it's kind of bittersweet to think about because I wish I knew Star Trek like I know it now back then because I honestly feel like I took that job for granted. Not that I didn't love it. I had a blast there. You know, I was there for a short time, but I was part of the closing cast, and that was really special. And I just, you know, a part of me is just like in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I should have taken more pictures. I should have done this. I should have trained in more parts. I should have, you know, done this and done that. And there's so much that I regret because it was such a unique place. And I got to, you know, when they train you, they usually just train you on one side first. I was trained on the Next Generation side. And for those of you who don't know, there was two different sides you could go on for different experiences. One was with the Klingon experience with the Next Generation Enterprise bridge. You know, you're talking to people on the screen like Commander Riker and Geordi LaForge and all that. And then there's the side where it's the Borg side where, you know, you talk to the Doctor from Voyager and you're on the space station and you know, Voyager, later the ship Voyager comes to help rescue you from the Borg cube, yada yada, you know, spoilers, although it's gone now, so no spoilers. Seriously,
Look the videos up on
YouTube it, it's unbelievable. Or if you have, I believe they have a nice featurette of it on some behind the scenes, like extended version behind the scenes of the new Star Trek movies. J.J. Abrams, I think they made like a featurette of the Star Trek experience. And what sucks is I was supposed to work the closing day of the experience. And a lot of the people that had been working it for years and years and years who had left all came back for like the featurette and the closing day. And they were running out of uniforms. And they were like, you're going to get to walk down the red carpet at the end and, you know, get your Starfleet stuff and yada yada, but we can't have you on the schedule to actually work the bridge today. And I'm like, what? Because my uniforms were being used by other Starfleet, even though they were mine.
Oh,
They fit into I was so mad. I was like, those were my uniforms. Darn you. Anyway, so I didn't get to work on the last day. So I'm not really featured in the featurette at all, but I did get, you know, if you can find me in random little YouTube stuff. And I wish I had taken more pictures.
There's actually like really cool YouTube videos, like really extensive ones of the whole, like when it first came out, like building the Enterprise D set and you know, kind of like perfecting the whole Borg side, the whole Star Trek experience. It's a shame it's gone. It was just so cool.
It really is.
Nothing was sadder than the day I went to Las Vegas in 2008 and realized it was gone. I was like, what? No.
I have never seen so many Klingons cry. It was a sad day, but really special. So yeah, anyone who doesn't know what it is, go look it up. It was very unique. You know, you could have a drink at Quark's, you know, sit down for dinner and have, you know, Klingons, Andorians, Vulcans just come up to your table and start chatting with you. And it was, you know, in the gift shop, Ferengi were haggling the prices of the trying to upcharge you.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, trying to upcharge you for a souvenir. It was great. Ugh, so much fun.
I mean, if ever a time for them to bring it back, there's so much Star Trek right now. Bring it back,
right?
And
I know there's talk
cool then. So like, can you imagine the technology we have now? It would be like insane.
Oh.
There's an Star Trek Discovery escape room in Vegas.
I saw your post about that.
Yeah, look up Escapeology. They have a whole bunch of different themed ones, but their Star Trek one I got to do last time I was there, and it was so fun. No, I don't want to brag, but I did save the ship, so you're welcome.
Excellent.
You're welcome, Captain Burnham. I just want to throw that out there. You know, if you want to give me a promotion, it's fine.
Yeah, maybe they need another voice of another computer in another show. I mean,
there's so many computers
and so many ships.
Or
so many ships.
Maybe a cameo by Tilly's long lost sister.
Hey.
Well, long lost sister is 900 years dead, but sure, let's go. Let's go through a flashback.
Great granddaughter, cousin-y thing.
Also named Sylvia Tilly.
I called out on your lore, man.
It's all good. It's all good. You know what? Don't think that I haven't tried to think of a way to put myself somehow related to Ensign Tilly in the show, and I am living my best Tilly hair at the moment. I feel.
I think
you got the volume there.
Yeah, I think the new Voyager definitely needs a redhead on the crew.
Yes!
Yeah.
I feel like every crew needs a redhead. I feel like
go.
every crew needs your token ginger. And they got quite a few on Discovery. I mean, they got Reds to spare, really.
It's nice, right?
I love it.
Redhead representation.
I'm like, yeah.
Well, listen, if I see any pictures of you in Canada, I'm gonna know what's up. So
randomly flying to Canada for
Nothing.
for syrup.
there you go.
We have
Had to
good
get it
syrup.
right from the source. Oh,
Going-
hey, Bonnie.
Yes.
I also noticed that you've got the Kickstarter going because you do amazing music. You do parody music,
Thank you.
and now this is your first album on your own, correct?
Correct. So, for any of you who know me from music, you probably know me as a comedy parody artist. Most knowingly with my band, The Library Bards, with Xander Genre. But yeah, I'm doing a solo album because why not? You know, I don't have enough stress I don't have enough things to do, so why not do a whole album? It's been amazing. The support and people's excitement for it has been kind of mind-blowing, actually. You know, it's going to be a lot of original music, so I didn't know how people would feel about that. And it's not going to be all comedy. It's not going to be all, you know, a lot of people just know me from the comedy music scene, and so I was worried how they would take it that I was saying, oh, by the way, this is a jazz album and like more blues jazz, and also I mean, some of the songs have like nerdy you know, tongue-in-cheek moments. I mean, I have a whole blues rock anthem about ADHD, so
Nice.
yeah.
But jazz fits in perfectly with Star Trek
Exactly.
lore.
It does.
Well, I'm doing a Star Trek medley on the album.
Oh, that's amazing.
Got to
That's
get
exciting.
Will Riker on the sax or the
Oh,
trombone.
if I could get
right?
him to cameo on a trombone solo, I'm gonna have a horn section for a few songs, and I'm
There you
like,
go.
what's Riker up to? He's not too busy, right? He's got
Just
he
making
doesn't-
pizza. He's just making
Yeah.
pizza. So-
That's your stretch goal.
I only have like what 8 days left of it, so I don't think there's enough stretch for that. But if he's listening, maybe he listens to this podcast, and if he wants to jump on as a really ultimate stretch goal, I would be more than happy to accept his trombone solo
I
in
feel like,
any and every song.
I feel like our collective could, you know, start sending him tweets and be like, you know,
Oh gosh,
you know,
So
it has
hey,
to happen.
just
Yeah.
what I need. I just need him to be like, poor guy. He's just gonna be bombarded with horrible, you know, like tweets. He's gonna be like, who's this weird jazz Trek stalker that's
oh, but
trying
she
to get me to
is
play the
on
trombone?
Star Trek.
Yeah.
I guess I could
Yeah.
work with her. Yeah.
I'm
It's
like,
all in the
you
Make
know,
it happen.
I'm like Kevin Bacon, like 6 degrees away.
There you go. I mean, it's gotta be like 1 or 2 at this point.
True,
Yeah.
true. I did just go see a viewing of Star Trek First Contact in the theater. They had like a special viewing of it with him doing a Q&A after with some of the creative team, and that was amazing.
Oh,
I
that's
wish
just
they
to
had
see it on the
done-
big screen.
I wish they had done more of those around the country, even if it wasn't with
Mhm.
like Frakes and the crew. Just like that movie deserved
Mm.
to be like do one of those Fathom re-releases. I'm sad we
Right?
didn't get one.
Yeah.
I love First Contact so
Me
much.
too.
It's the best.
Voyage
of the
Home is still my favorite.
Yeah, so like a number of us on this podcast are actually actors. I know a number of us went to school for theater. Some people have
Wait, we
acted
live in
professionally.
LA and we're actors?
Only some of us, just Aaron, I think, and me and Hawker in Canada,
really.
Julian's in Pennsylvania. We're all
I'm in
over
Philly.
the place.
Oh,
So
nice.
and one of our co-hosts, Brittany, who couldn't make it today, and you can find on Twitch and social media as Vocal Tomes, is actually an aspiring voice actor.
Oh, nice.
And you know, it's sometimes hard to get into the voice acting, you know, gig. So, how did the role of the Protostar computer come about on Prodigy?
Well, again, I was very lucky in the very beginning of the process. You know, I was just lucky to get an audition. I pulled every string I could just to get an audition. You know, my agents, I didn't have a voiceover agent at the time, believe it or not.
Oh wow.
And my theatrical and commercial agent, I was just kind of like, hey, you need to find a way to get me to audition for this. And then I had a few friends, you know, work the back end, you know, pull a few strings, make sure it got listened to with production, stuff like that. So it ended up being just right place, right time. I got really lucky. They called me in for a callback for Gwen. And as COVID was hitting, they decided to, you know, while they were searching for a cast member, or while they were searching to cast Gwen, they had me come in and do scratch for her. So I did scratch for Gwen for a lot of the beginning of the first season, as well as Captain Janeway, because with COVID, everyone's recording remotely, and they can't just waste Kate Milgrew's time by like making her jump through hoops to record. So I would go in, record her lines, and then that way the animators have something to work with and animate to. And then Kate Milgrew would come in and record over me better, basically.
Wait, we need to hear your Janeway voice.
Hello. Oh dear, let me get into it. I usually have to
You need a coffee.
Yeah.
watch an episode of Voyager. I also have a little stuffy nose. I'm Captain Janeway of the USS Voyager. Hailing frequencies are open.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That was
Something like that.
awesome.
How exactly did you actually get into the voice acting gig? Did you start off in theater first and then fall
I
into
did.
it?
I did. I started out in theater, musical theater nerd, doing live shows out in Orlando. I did a lot of shows in Vegas. And then when I moved out to LA and I started doing theater out here, I got cast in a 1920s radio play.
It's so good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's called Tales of the Extraordinary. It's recorded live in front of an audience, and the audience does the sound effects. Aaron has come to a few of the live ones.
Mhm.
We haven't done one in a while, but like, not to name drop people, but some of the people in the show were, like Matt Mercer and Taliesin Jaffe, and Kyle Hebert would come in and sit in. It was created by Michael Coleman. All of these people are voiceover actors in all different kinds of famous cartoons and video games, and they were the ones that kind of sparked the interest for me to do voiceover. They were like, why aren't you in voiceover? And I went, what does that do? What's the voiceover? Because I was always interested, but again, if you don't know anything about the industry, it's so hard to just figure it out on your own. So I was very lucky that kind of vouched for me and got me into a studio for like a very small video game. Someone dropped out last minute and they were like, we need a villain. I was like, I can do it. My voice is low. You said you need a villain, you said. So yeah, so I came in and filled in last minute, and then that studio started calling me in for more stuff to audition for, and reputation, if you're fun to work with and you're nice, it's word can spread in this industry. So I've been very lucky in the sense that a lot of the bookings I've got were just by studios reaching out, knowing what I'm capable of, and sending me auditions privately. And then now with Star Trek, I finally got a voiceover agent, so I'm actually able to audition for more projects and not just kind of like stand on the side and stalk casting directors on Twitter and be like, so I heard you're casting something here, let me slide into your DMs with my reel. Is this weird? Yeah. So I may or may not have done that.
I think we've all done that.
Look, you got to shoot your shot sometimes, and hopefully I come across as like a genuinely nice person and not too creepy. So. I will say this though, when I came in for my callback for Star Trek Prodigy, Dan and Kevin Hageman, the creators of the show, they were there for the callback, and they both were like, oh, it's Bonnie from Twitter. Like,
that's how everybody knows you.
And I was like, I don't know if that was a compliment or like a, oh no, ooh, that girl. But it was really, they've been so wonderful to work with.
I think that's a compliment because you're always around Twitter and your Twitter presence is awesome. And
thank you.
we already got, we had Aaron Walke on the show a couple of weeks ago.
I love Aaron.
Aaron's amazing, and he had nothing but amazing things to say about you as well.
Yeah, he's great. In fact, yeah, I can't wait for y'all to see some of the episodes that he, specifically worked on. Cause all the writing is so strong in Star Trek Prodigy. I feel like, yes, it's getting the love it deserves, tenfold, but I feel like a lot of adults are a little hesitant to jump into it, or like they'll watch the pilot and they'll be like, okay, it's good. And I'm like, no, now it becomes Trek. Like, it is a Trek show. It has that nostalgic feeling of those the away missions and the this and that. It feels like Star Trek to me, and I love that about it. And I love that kids are getting into it now as well, and wanting to see more of Trek, with Prodigy being their gate into it, their doorway. Yeah, I'm just so happy.
So they gave me the fun question.
Uh-oh. No.
So in the Star Trek universe, stepping into the role of the starship's voice is not just any other voice acting gig, because you're also kind of stepping into the same shoes that Majel Barrett Roddenberry walked in.
The legend.
Her voice on TNG was practically another character altogether. Is this something you think about a lot when you're doing the role, or do you take
all the time? Oh gosh. Actually, what's funny is when I first started it, and when I was first announced as the ship computer, I was slightly terrified that trolls would come after me, or that like hardcore Trek fans would be offended that that they weren't using her voice, because they do have, I believe, the estate has an archive of her voice for computer referencing and whatnot. But with the Protostar, there's just so much that the ship says that's so new. There was no way to replicate that with her voice unless you actually get someone to do an impression of her, which I did offer. I said I can try, and they were like, we want it to be a whole new computer, a whole new it's like a new face for the computer, a new voice. So it is following in her footsteps, and I'm so lucky to be taking up, I don't feel like I'm worthy of the mantle yet. She was just such a legend, just in every role she did on those shows. I always call her Mama Troy. One of my favorite characters is she plays, and to be able to have a character that's so confident and funny, yet bring so much heart to it and tenderness to it, like with the scenes that she would have with Odo on DS9. My dream is to one day hopefully have one of the live action shows allow me to audition for a live action role on any Star Trek series, just to kind of also follow in that legacy of I was the ship computer, and now I get to also be a part of the true ensemble of a cast. And even if it's just a small guest starring role, it would just be such a pleasure. Throw me in prosthetics. I have very small pores. I work really well in prosthetics. If anyone's listening, special effects makeup and my face are it's like glue.
Love it.
So.
Oh man, Bonnie, you'd be so great on any of those shows, but I would love it if they did sort of in the Lower Deck style, because it's so funny. Like if they did more of a live action comedy episode, or if they did an episode of Lower Decks that was like live action, maybe they went to another universe or whatever, and you were there. Ooh. That would be, because you are one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Thank you.
Like I've seen you perform at the Magic Castle, and you do this whole bit where you're like the assistant, but you're like the worst assistant.
Okay, define worst though. I wouldn't call it the worst. We'll just call it,
there's the whole bit where you're like, nope, not the right thing, not the right, like I'm not doing a good job at all, but like it's the funniest act, and Bonnie makes it. Like I know it's about the magician, he's great too, but you crack me up.
Well, there's the magician and there's the misdirection, darling. But no, actually, for anyone in the Los Angeles, California area, on Monday the 13th, I will be performing with that magician that you're talking about, Aaron, Dave Cox, in Bakersfield. So if anyone's just randomly in Bakersfield on Monday, December 13th, it's called Celebrities of Magic, and Dave Cox is headlining. It's our show. We're the whole show, and I'm his assistant. We'll see what breaks this show.
Nice.
We'll see what I ruin. I'll just try and steal the stage from him the whole time.
Well, speaking of gigs, what else do you have going on? Because we're going to wrap it up here, but tell us what's going on with you, what's next, where people can find you, everything.
Sure. Well, of course, oh my gosh. Of course, the solo album is my big baby right now. So please go follow the Kickstarter. If you look on my social media, you'll find it all over. I'm adding stretch goals as much as I can. I just added some add-ons items as well, like a new enamel pen. It's all about ADHD. So, fun things like that. I'm going to post a list later today of all the songs that I'm covering and all the originals that I'm doing. So that way people know what's going to be on the album, how many songs, what's going to be on there. It's going to be so nerdy and so jazzy and so fun. So please follow that. I'm hoping to do some music videos with What I Raise in the spring, including a Jessica Rabbit one for the song Why Don't You Do Right. So that's one of the covers I'm doing.
Just got a preview. I love it.
Yeah.
Like some other men do. So that's pretty much my big project. I'm also all over different streaming channels, guesting on TTRPGs, and also, oh my goodness, next year I'll be promoting Con Artist as well as doing, guest appearances for Star Trek, Prodigy, and the Library Bard. So I'll be posting a con schedule as soon as I have one solidified. I've been reaching out to different conventions and nerd pop culture events, so keep your eyes open. And keep watching Star Trek Prodigy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let me know if I need to come over and watch your cat. I'll do that out of the goodness of my own heart. 'Cause
You
have
just
the
love
best
my cat.
in the world.
You're going to kidnap him. I know it.
Oh, totally. 100%.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Bonnie. Like, it's really special because, we're friends, but just seeing you succeed is awesome. I think that there's no one who deserves it more. You work harder than anyone I
Thank
know. I don't
you.
know when you sleep.
I don't. That's the problem. I'm working on it. I'm going. I got an appointment with a doctor very shortly, and he's gonna help me knock myself out. No, I'm just kidding. That's horrible to say, but I'm not kidding. I don't sleep. I also have slight panic ramblings like this. So yeah, but that's okay. You know why? Because I get a lot done at 4 a.m. So
I'm with
I think
you.
you're in the right group. We're all
You
like
are.
that.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to hand the con back over to Julian. And we are going to review episode 403, Choose to Live. Stick around right after the jump.
Welcome back to A Strange New Pod. That was an awesome interview. Aaron, Eric, and Hawk. Brittany, sorry you couldn't make it, but it was a lot of fun.
It's fine. I
And,
didn't get to talk to the voice actor.
I
It's fine.
know. We wanted to have you there, but you'll get to listen to it, right? It was really
I
fun.
will
It was a great interview. Bonnie's awesome. We hope to have her on the show again soon, when Prodigy comes back up in January. But right now we are reviewing Star Trek Discovery episode 403, Choose to Live. And Brittany, since you're back, hit it. Your thoughts on this episode.
This episode had everything. It had swords. It had realistic fighting. It had Michael being a badass captain. It had Paul Stamets doing science things. It had Book. It had the space gaze. It had the space gaze having sad and happy moments. It had Tilly. It had everything but Detmer and Owo looking at each other. That is the only thing the episode did not have.
Don't worry, though. I have that gift for you.
It's fine.
Yay!
I know you would. But yes, I watched the other 2 episodes for Discovery yesterday and Prodigy because I've been behind the last few weeks, too much going on. And I've cried every episode of Discovery, and that's not new. I always cry every episode of Discovery, but man, is it good. This was one for the books. Yeah, I really like.
Kidding me?
They do a good job of balancing like this political sort of like subtext and like stuff that you don't want to really deal with in Star Trek, but you're like, it makes sense. I get it. With like Michael's captaincy, like nothing's taking away from that. And it's also showing like how good of a captain she is, but also like questioning her as to why she is the way she is, but we know because we've been with her the whole way. I really like seeing more of these characters. You know how last season we were talking about seeing more of like the bridge crew and the rest of the crew and actually seeing more of them? I feel like we're getting that a lot more in this season, where it's nice when it goes to Culber and you're just like, oh cool, these are Culber moments with like, Adira and Gray, and then you have Stamets on his own and he's actually interacting with Book. It's like really interesting dynamics, and like it's been refreshing. I like it. I feel like that was really
Nice.
vague, but I just am very excited about it all.
No, that was pretty much at your normal level. That was perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Where I rant and I'm
Yeah.
just like, let me get all my ADHD thoughts out before anybody interrupts me, and then I'm done.
Exactly.
I have to.
All right, Eric, your thoughts
I thought it was
on
good.
this episode.
I thought it was good. After like everything that Brittany said, had everything. the swords was good. They had nice, actual choreographed fights, which sometimes
Right.
Disco
The
doesn't
sword
do.
fights were actually sword fights.
I know, exactly.
I was like, thank you for looking ferocious.
And they shot it well enough that you could see them doing the moves, and they weren't just like quick cuts, which you often see on sci-fi shows. So I appreciate that as someone who's done stage combat and stuff. I thought it was great. I liked the whole blue and gray storyline. Even though I didn't like the golem thing from Picard, I liked that.
You're like,
They
it's
had a
worth
purpose
it
for it.
It had a purpose,
Yeah.
and it actually
You're like,
feels
Picard
worth.
had to be a golem so we could have Gray in a real body.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
And
it.
when I watched it with Kateri today, she was like, "Oh, he has a body now. That's nice, and now he can meet everyone." I was like, "You're right. He can meet everyone." So I'm still watching it with Kateri, and she's still really enjoying it. I like that the anomaly has a name now, which I can't recall.
DMA.
The DMA.
The DMA.
Yeah, it's like the DMA strike.
Yeah.
I just immediately thought Dave Matthews Band, but that's DMB. But
I really love that Book and Stamets are getting paired together. I love that dynamic, and I like seeing them together. We got to see the space dad with his 2 adopted kids. I love that dynamic as well. Anytime I got to see the Quat Malat is great. I like that they're doing callbacks from last season, and that we're seeing this universe that they started introducing last year just grow and still become part of this family. We got to see the Guardian, and we got to see Navarre again, which is gorgeous. I love that whole sequence. The mind meld sequence was gorgeous and heartbreaking.
Yes. I cried.
It was nice to see Book gets a little bit of resolution in his trauma that he's been going through. It's an ongoing thing that will obviously still affect him throughout the season, because you can't just get over him losing a whole planet with that one moment.
No, and I thought that moment at the very end of the episode where he's lying in bed with Michael was just such a beautiful moment, because his whole his demeanor for the past 2 episodes, right, has just been, I mean, he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
And you could just see the light come back into his face, and to be able to act that and the way he did was awesome. I love that final scene.
And for sure. And even then he says, for right now, things are good.
Yeah.
And that's how, going through pain and trauma is.
How grief is.
Yeah, you go in waves, and it's beautiful. I like that. The final thing I'm going to talk about, because I just like everything, but this episode was fantastic. I love that Tilly is going through her own personal journey of growth right now, and that she's trying to explore different options, and that she's talking to different people to see, because she doesn't quite know her place anymore now that she's in the future, and after the events of the first episode she sort of seems a little bit lost. And I like that she's taking advice in from different people she respects, and that's a good lesson for people to learn, and she's doing it wonderfully, and I look forward to seeing where her journey takes her.
I agree.
I just also want to say, to keep going along your point, Eric, that we talked about this so much last week. This season, I feel like people complained a little bit last season about how they handled them just coming back, and the only person they really showed having issues was Detmer. This season is showing grief and anguish and just loss in the most beautiful way, and they're actually focusing on it and not shying away from it. And I'm really proud of the writers' room and everyone involved with the show for really tackling it as an issue this season.
Agreed.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
The writing is top notch.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Hawk, you're up.
So this was a really good episode, and I love that it kind of felt almost like its own independent episode with the story of the Quat Malat, while actually still managing to balance out the multiple storylines that are going on with this crew. The whole thing with the Quat Malat was brilliant. I had no idea what was going on at the beginning of it, and that why would they just suddenly beam in and start stealing the lithium that was being given away freely
Hawk,
to the galaxy?
time out real quick. I think our stream is off.
It's on now, but
Oh,
it
we're
was
good?
off. Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. Keep going. We had a temporary disconnect. Subspace disconnect.
So anyways, the whole thing with the Quat Malat stealing dilithium that was being freely given, I couldn't understand that, but it did give us the return of Sonia Son as Burnham's mom. I really enjoyed the resolution with Gray and Adira's storyline. I'll talk about that later than that, but I'm wondering, I'm a little sad about what might come of it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. No.
Intrigue.
The whole thing with Book and Stamets was great. So I guess they're the new duo in that going forward this year. And that,
They're Mushroom Bros.
yeah,
Almost like the
Yeah.
Mario Brothers.
the only two people who can work the spore drive and that. So of course it would be. They're going to develop a friendship. The return to Navarre was great. I don't know if I could call it Vulcan architecture or a combination of Navarian architecture, but like those whole things that they were where the whole seminars are being conducted.
I
was
still
amazing.
think it's very Vulcan. I don't like everything that
feels
we've seen
it.
of right. Like everything that we've seen of Navarre so far still feels 100% Vulcan.
There are
maybe that will
Romulan
change.
influences in that room, especially like the pillars and
Okay, yeah,
and like
I
the
could see what you
seating
mean.
and stuff. Like
Yeah,
I feel like it's
yep.
a good meld between the two.
I could
It's
see
a
that.
mind meld between the two.
But those floating things are awesome, Hawk. I loved. Yeah, love those.
Overall, this was it's a really good third episode going into it. Yeah, what else to say? I think we'll move on.
I think we'll move on. That's
Like,
good.
it's
Good
hard when an
stuff.
episode's just so good because you're
So
like,
good.
can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Aaron, you're up.
You guys have said literally everything there is to say about it. The only thing I'll add is that I think we already said this too. I really like the character moments between, we're seeing a lot of one-on-ones, and it's like it's giving everybody a moment to slow down from the main story and just, it feels more personal, and I like that. So that was my favorite part.
Would you say it gives more gravity?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would, Brittany.
Get off my bridge.
I forgot to mention, I love Doug Jones.
Yes.
Just seeing him back and through, especially this episode, helping Michael out, and then also obviously talking to Tilly, but just his interactions with her. I was just like, man, Doug Jones really is one of the greatest actors in the world. And people don't realize that. Ugh, kills me.
So I said this, I don't know where I said this. I either said it on the pod last week, or maybe when we were doing the first episode, but I'm kind of really happy to be proven right on this, with like people on Twitter today just saying how like they're so happy the show is in the future now because they don't have to worry about Star Trek history anymore. They're making their own Star Trek. And that is why this season really feels like Discovery has finally found its true Star Trek form. And I'm really loving that. And I'm really happy to see fans seeing that as well as they watch these episodes, because there is an overall arc, right, with the DMA, but they're doing a little bit more episodic, episode style with these past couple episodes. Maybe not last week, but we can't talk about spoilers till next week, but next week's episode is a bit episodic as well. I think that's fair to say. And that's the heart of Star Trek. And the show's been so good at that. And another thing that I think we all love about Star Trek, and one of the reasons maybe we all watch Star Trek, is politics. I love the politics of Star Trek. And this episode is politics. We're going to talk a lot about that a little later, but
that is not my favorite part of the show.
no, I love that.
I love the space
I
butts
like
and
it.
the laser
It's not
beams.
my favorite bit.
Yeah. I love Michael as captain. She plays it so well. I loved in this episode that she was not afraid to get her point across and question the president. And I know that President Rillick appreciates that, even though she has to kind of like stay kind of like stoic and not give away her hand, because we're going to talk about this more later. She does have a hand, and she is playing she's playing political theater in this episode, and that political theater is making sure that Navarre rejoins the Federation. Like she says in that episode, Navarre rejoining the Federation is going to help millions. And I thought that was a great sentiment. The whole thing with Gray and Adira makes me so fucking happy, because we talked about it last season with Ian on the show, and we get that resolution finally in this episode using the Picard method, which I already bitched about last week.
Method.
So I love it for this story, like I said last week. I didn't know I needed all of these scenes with Paul and Book. Like I love it. And I have to say my new favorite Trek character, and I think I said this last season too, is President Tarina. She's amazing. And I can't get the actor off the top of my head. The actor is amazing. She's doing such a wonderful job in that role. I like that she plays a Vulcan very differently because this is 1,000 years in the future. They have merged with the Romulans, so she isn't afraid to, give a small smile or show a little bit of emotion. She's still a Vulcan, but they've had to learn to kind of evolve with having, sharing, what was Vulcan, with the Romulans now on this planet that we now know is Navarre. I really love it. And then the Kuat Malat, this was a great story. It actually took a back seat to everything else to me that went on in this episode. It was still a great story. I love seeing Burnham's mom. Again, I like it because of the political theater. I like the fact that she doesn't get handed over to the Federation, even though Michael was not happy with that. I think that is the right move, no matter which way you look at it. But this was just a fantastic episode. This season is running on all cylinders, and I'm really digging it. So,
also, President,
you liked it a Kuat Malat? I just love saying Kuat Malat, guys. Honestly,
I want to know what the hell is going on.
It's like saying Kwisatz Haderach. Like you learn that word once in your life, and you're like, I gotta drop this all the time.
Also, Tara Rosling is who plays.
Yes,
President
Tara
Tarina.
Rosling. Thank you. She is just
nice.
so good. Before we move on and get a little bit more in depth in this episode, guys, secret surprise contest time. We are running a contest. Contests are fun. We're giving away one of these awesome Ensign Mariner pins from Fan Sets. They're really cool. They're shiny. They are awesome. And we are giving one away. And it's a really easy way to try and win one of these. Just a trivia question that somewhat kind of ties into this episode. We're going to ask this question, and then you will have until next Wednesday to email us at astrangenewpod@gmail.com. Again, that's a strange new pod, not just strange new pod. astrangenewpod@gmail.com. We'll draw the winner on Thursday and announce it on next week's show. So that question is, when Admiral Picard was visiting Vashti, what book would he bring to read a young Eleanor? That's it. That's the question. Email us the answer. We'll add everybody in the random generator. We'll pick a winner next Thursday.
Now you guys have to watch Picard all the way through to find out.
That is
Yeah.
so
It's actually one of the
cool.
few moments I really remember from Picard.
Yeah,
You have to
it's
make them
'cause I was like,
suffer a little
I
bit.
get that reference.
that episode's not bad though. So
I honestly don't remember it.
Hey, I'm hyped for season 2.
Yep. So that deadline again is next Wednesday. Let's get more into this episode, Choose to Live. What did we think, right, about the use of the Kuat Malat, who we know from Picard, like we just mentioned, and we saw a little bit last season in Unification Part 3. They murdered a Starfleet officer, not just any Starfleet officer, commander of a starship. That's a big deal no matter what. And that's kind of, they're using it as a way to test the strength of the VAR and the Federation kind of being back on good terms and working together. And this really tests that political relationship. Again, very much about political maneuvering.
I love the Kuat Malat.
Mhm.
Every time they show up, I already said I love the name, but like I love Michael's mom. So whenever we get to see her, I think that she's a great actress. I also like the character a lot. So there's always this really good dynamic with Michael. And when she shows up, it's also always very important political moments because that's just the nature of the group that she's with. So like she's not going to randomly run into the Federation unless things are going down. So I liked seeing that again, and I like that this is kind of like a test for the two, because as soon as we saw Navarre last season, we were just like, oh, this is so cool. Like, it would be really great for them to rejoin the Federation. So I think this is like that linchpin that is going to make it happen. And listen, I love seeing people run around with swords. I like seeing cool, badass ladies in their cloaks doing their crazy shit. And I'm just like, sold. As soon as they were like, Michael, you can't even use like a phaser. We're going to give you a sword. I was just like, Miss Sonequa, if you stab me with a sword any day, I would be grateful. So like this episode, it just gave me everything.
Yep.
And I was just like, thank you. I like how the political things, the reason why political aspects of Star Trek are so good is that they're nuanced. Like they're always written and done very well. If that makes any sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
should make
no,
any
it
sense.
does.
I'm
No,
just
it does.
tired, so I'm like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I like that it is very like, it's not just straight up like manipulative or like, you know, good versus bad. It's like, even if you don't like the president, you can see why she does the things she does.
Mhm.
Kind of like Julian pointed out. And like, there's some things where you're like, well, I'm definitely on Michael's side, or I'm definitely on this side, but you can see the nuances there.
Yeah.
And this was a good episode for that.
There's
Hawk, I saw your hand up.
Oh, yeah, go,
Oh,
Hawk.
sorry. Eric.
There's something to be said about space ninjas being the ones that are destabilizing governments. Like that's a wonderful historical.
Some things never go
thing,
out of
right?
style.
Yeah, so I
I
love
just love
that they brought that historical aspect to the future with space ninjas. Yeah, amazing.
And they're always like, this is the way. And I'm like, is this the Mandalorian? They're like, no, this is not the way. I'm like, this is amazing. What?
Hawk.
The whole thing with handing her over back to Navarre and that kind of reminded me of what we just experienced over the last year involving Meng Wanzhou and the two Michaels from Canada. We detained her on, at the request of the U.S. government, and that, China took two of our citizens basically prisoner, whatever you want to say it, with, espionage charges. And at the end in that,
Uh-oh.
Oh, he froze. The
You'll
Quat
never
Malak
They
got him.
heard him.
The Quat
They
Malak
heard
got
him,
him.
and they
The
got
Kuat
him.
Malat got Hawk. Choose to live, Hawk. Choose to live.
Well,
Oh,
just
no.
while he's frozen.
That's the best frame
It
for him
is.
to end.
They have such like a Dora Milaje vibe.
Can we take
to
a
them.
screenshot of this?
They do.
Yes. I mean, I'm trying to keep going, but you guys are like, nope.
Oh my god, they just
I got my screenshot in. Hold on.
Oh. I mean, isn't a
Oh.
screenshot? It's just gonna look the same.
maybe, I don't know.
No, I'm gonna post a joke on Twitter later.
You need a little GIF or something. We could be like, wee, or what is that? I mean,
I can't believe they got him.
They got him. They got him.
no, he's
There he
not.
goes. There
This
he
is like
goes.
one time I was talking about aliens with with my friend, and all the lights in her apartment went out. And I was like, they know.
Aliens.
Really, it was just a blackout, but it was like I was just ranting.
timing
about it.
was
Eric's always
impeccable.
on the
It
ready.
was.
I
It
love it.
scared us all.
We'll get
Uh,
going here in just a second, guys.
So
One
in the
sec.
chat, is it Dave that's
It's Dave. Yeah, it's Dave.
just going? Okay. He said, "Was the sword fighting a cut above the rest?" To which I said,
There he is.
Oh, very nice.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
And Yum Pod said Romulan warrior nuns. Fun fact: warrior nun was a comic thing,
It was.
which
It
was made into, I think it was like a Netflix show or something last year. Wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Hawk, we thought the
Hello.
Kuat Malat got you.
he said that, or I got censored by China.
It could be both.
But anyways, it was a similar situation because there wasn't really any at the end of it, even though we got our people back, there wasn't really any justice involved in it.
Yeah.
There really
Yeah.
was.
But we continue on because we had, it was all about the balance, which is something like right now the world is in desperate need of.
Yeah. Agreed.
Only the
Um,
Avatar can bring balance.
On,
The world
on,
needs
on the subject of politics, guys, Admiral Vance had a great line in this episode that I want to play for you right now. I have to tell you, it's probably one of my favorite lines in Star Trek ever. Let me play this for you, and then we'll talk about this. But here we go.
You like music, Captain? Sure. Think of us as an orchestra. Your first chair of violin with the showy, challenging solos. I'm the drum section, setting the pace, providing backbone. She's the conductor. As she signals us, we play. It's not our job to know if the cellist is drunk or the woodwinds and brass are at war. We each have a part. And we must all trust that she knows the symphony.
Oh,
Such a
I
good
guess-
line.
Okay.
Oh my god.
But you guys, without seeing the when you're watching and seeing the video, just hearing it, he kind of sounds a little Hannibal Lecter. Like it sounds a
You
little
like
creepy.
music, Clarice.
I don't know. I think he sounds.
I just
think
love when
he-
he's like, "Do you like music?" And she's like, "Yes." And then he goes on
But
this
he's
whole
like,
thing, and at the
"Do
end,
you
she's
like
like, "I thought you meant
music?"
like EDM."
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we think
Yeah.
so far? We're 3 episodes in with President Rillick. her place in this world and her evolving relationship, not only with Michael, but with the Federation and what she's trying to accomplish with it.
I really, really like her. Like, she's phenomenal. Like, she was very iffy on the first episode, especially when they played those musical cues. We're like, oh, she's evil. But
You're like, dun, dun, dun.
but I feel like she's like such a good politician, and like not the creepy politician, like more like the West Wing politician, where
Yeah.
it feels like
I get West Wing vibes.
Yeah, like, and she knows how to navigate through all of the bullshit that, you know, politics brings. And without spoiling anything, we're gonna see this later in the season, and that's awesome. And I like see she's such an intelligent person, and see a Kardashian be that, you know, level-minded, smart person at the top is so cool, especially after watching DS9 and being like,
Yes.
"Ugh."
I was gonna say it's very rare to see a Kardashian be level-headed, but Kardashians, of course, I'm there with you.
Boy. David on Twitch goes, I'm with Eric. I really like her. She's incredibly nuanced. She's playing 4D chess for real. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm,
Absolutely.
mhm,
Hawk, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, she's revealed herself as a really canny politician, and like in this episode, like the next one, you know, we're going to see more of that. She's keeping in mind that they've got this fragile balance, you know, this fragile alliance with Navarre. Her ultimate goal is the reconstitution of the Federation, and that Navarre is very important to that. She just explicitly states that in the episode itself, and that, and the metaphor in that of the orchestra is very valid in that. Where I, you know, and her reliance on Michael, this increasing reliance she has on Michael, you know, it's really interesting in that, because she knows, like, you know, she seems to have great admiration for her and respect for her abilities and to get the job done. Where I see this running into conflict is if she thinks that Michael is simply just a piece of her orchestra, in that, you know, because really, like, you know, Michael, you know, has always kind of
Michael's like,
played
I'll
to
do
her.
it. I'll run
She's
the whole
always
Federation
played to-
myself.
She's always played to her own tune. She's been, you know, intuitively right in her decisions and that, even when they've gotten her in massive trouble and that. And I think that's probably where the main tension between these two characters is going to go.
Yeah, I agree. I really like Rillick, and all for the same reasons that you guys have listed it. A very realistic character, played phenomenally, and like she knows what she's doing. It's like Queen's Gambit in space. Okay, she knows everything that's on the mat. She knows all the different positions she got to go to. She won't pull the Queen's Gambit, obviously, but you know, Michael's all about the Sicilian. I'm just throwing this out because Julian finally watched the show.
I did.
Oh,
It's
it's
true. It was
okay.
wonderful.
Yay.
I
He's
still
like,
have to
I
watch
get
it.
that reference.
So good.
So
But
good.
I do agree that, like, if and when that sort of like head-to-head happens even more than it's shown up a little bit in the series, it'll be because of like Michael is so like, it's almost like if something doesn't align with her specific morals and her ideals, then that's where the conflict arises.
Yeah.
And Michael's my favorite in Discovery, so like I'm always like, she's 100% correct. I would never doubt you, Queen. But there are definitely areas of contention where realistically, someone running a whole federation trying to unite different people, like, you have to make agreements, and they're not always exactly what you would want or agree with.
Mhm.
But it's for hopefully always in the benefit or in the favor of the masses. So I agree that way, but it's just like their two ideologies are so like opposed sometimes. It's
Mhm.
great when they flow together, but when they don't, you see those little eye twitches from Michael, and you're just like, oh, she's ready. She's ready to coup.
Well, and that's what I wanted to say real quick. One of the reasons I love this moment and this scene, and especially what Vance says, is when Rillick is turning away and Michael says his name, says the commander's name, and she goes, he had a partner, he had kids, and then she's about to start listing the kid's name off, and Rillick says their names, like, yeah, no, I know this too. Don't think I'm not on this. I know what I'm doing. Have a little faith, and I really like that scene.
A little faith of the
Of the
heart.
No,
heart.
none,
Oh,
none.
Oh, you know what I was gonna mention? When they played Archer's theme in the other episode, shit, I teared up, and I haven't even watched Enterprise. What the
Damn.
fuck was that?
Damn straight. Damn straight.
I was like, why am I crying?
You've been
right now?
They played the good
indoctrinated.
theme.
It's a great theme.
They
It's
did.
a great theme.
It is.
But Rylick
It's so
also, I don't know if you guys get this vibe, but she reminds me of Gillian Anderson. Like,
Yes.
like a lot.
Gillian
like,
vibes.
especially later Scully, when she comes into her own and knows what she's doing, and she's like, she's very passionate about what she does. Like, I was like, oh man, Like that's how I feel.
I want to believe.
I want to believe.
You're like, please, Scully.
Aaron, did you have anything on this?
No, you guys are being really thorough tonight. By the time we get to me, I'm like, yes, I agree, yes, whoa, and yes.
Well, why don't you take this one after I read this one here? Gray and Adir, right? Their story is something that we've been talking about since last season, and it's just been this awesome journey. Gray finally getting his new body. This is so much more than Gray getting his new body, right? This is Ian Alexander and Blue DeBarrio talked about this on the Ready Room, and how this is also kind of like a metaphor for Ian's transition as well. And it's just this great moment. How do we feel about his relationship with Adira? Their bond kind of throughout this episode, and Adira is kind of just, real fear that they might not get Gray back, and then how this is going to shape their relationship moving forward now that Gray does have a body.
Well, I mean, listen, it's a lot, right? Like, it's, you just said it. I think that last week we had talked about the idea of being able to get a new body is like, that's the hope of the future, that we can make these things are available to people. And, it takes, people are facing less trauma and living their lives and being excellent, which I think is the goal. So I thought that there were, it was really, really nice. I'm curious to see how people are going to interact with characters, a brand new character that they've heard about, but, seeing is believing. And now what are they going to do on the ship? Are they going to stay on the ship? Are they going to go do something else? So that's the part I'm excited about. Like, what now?
Nice.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Gray getting his body feels more earned than Picard getting his.
150%.
Which seems weird because Picard had his whole series, but
I know, right? And another series before that.
I know. And I love how earnest and excited they are for this opportunity. And I feel like I can't speak because I'm not part of the LGBTQ community, but I feel like that's how people would go through that, like feeling that ownership, like they talked about in the Ready Room. And I can't speak the words as well as they did, but yeah,
it's like, it's
beautiful.
the risks that are involved and everything, but in order to finally be your true self and to be happy, you're willing to take what has to happen.
If you haven't watched this week's Ready Room yet, it's available on YouTube, and it's a really fantastic watch. So after the pod, do that, unless you want to watch Discovery, which you can do too. Yeah. Anybody else on this?
First.
Yeah. Okay. I love Gray and Adira. You guys know that episode was my favorite one from last season, when they're like united together. So good. Anytime Ian is on screen, Ian knows this. We've talked, but like I cry for some reason every time Ian's on screen. I'm like, why do you do this to me?
Oh no, I cried.
Yeah. But to finally see this, because you had that scene also last season where Gray was laying as what Gray or was Adira laying on the thing? I think Adira was laying on the table last time. And like, it was one of those things where I pointed out, I was like, oh, it's kind of like when someone's transitioning, like that's the sort of like look they were going for. So it was nice to see that happen again in this season, to be like that transferring of the mind, and then to have this like new body, and to finally, and also choose a body that matches what you want. Like that little moment about the mole wasn't really about the mole, guys. It wasn't about the mole, but I love it. It was just so well written. The people that write the show really, like, either there's probably queer writers on the show, but like, even if somebody isn't queer, they took into account like the queer experience. And I'm not transgender, but I have friends who are trans. I have friends who have transitioned, friends who haven't transitioned yet, etc. I have friends who are non-binary, and to see this representation in Star Trek and done so well, and the pronouns every time characters like Culber says they. Culber says them.
It's all just done
and I'm just,
perfectly
it just
right.
fills my heart with joy, and there's no like awkward pause. There was no like learning curve really for the crew. It was just like they just picked it up. It's natural for them in the future. So like, it just gives me so much hope. That like, I mean, I was in tears I was like, Gray has a body, and I was just happy that the characters could interact and they were like happy together, and it's not this sad thing where
that
like
hug Gray gives Hugh, I'm
gay
like,
backstory where it's like they just live in my memory. Yeah, as soon as the eye contact with Hugh right away, I was just like, oh, I'm done. So from what I could see through my tears, it was just gorgeous cinema, and the acting and the chemistry between Blue and Ian is just like
so good.
Chef's kiss.
I-
So
I
Shout out.
got an amazing experience watching this episode with Kateri because we got to talk about pronouns and how they're important to people, and she fully accepted it, and not like it didn't blow her mind or anything. She's just like, okay, that makes sense. And I was sitting there, I was like, I'm so proud of you right now, and I'm getting teary eyed right now just thinking about it. But it
you're
was
like the
such
world didn't get to you.
it was such a little moment, but it was something that felt so important in her upbringing. Like, and I'm so proud of her for accepting that, and and
makes
it
me
not
so
being a big
happy.
deal, right? I'm gonna cry. Good Lord.
That's
Yeah.
oh.
I feel like I
that's
didn't even do
awesome.
the scene justice to how much I actually got from it, but that's what
No,
I
you
could
did.
verbalize.
Yeah.
You
That's
did.
what I could
You did.
verbalize.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this was probably the most emotionally satisfying moment of the whole episode. Like that joy that on Ian and Gray's face as he's experiencing the wholeness of this new body, and it was just quite moving. I mentioned before about the little sadness and trepidation I had, and I was thinking like these two had such a special relationship. First, I think like it was definitely like the first love between the two of them, for these two. Then that tragic accident, and then like linking them together. Now that Gray's got a new body in that, are their paths gonna separate and diverge in that? Because Gray's obviously expressed interest in going back to the Trill to be a guardian in that, and Adira is still finding their footing like on this ship.
You almost
like-
called it the Enterprise.
Yeah.
I saw it. I saw
I did
that.
not. I did not.
Now I see what you mean. At first, I thought you were worried about like their relationship, like them being in love wasn't going to be a thing, because that even Gray was like, no, we're always going to be linked. Like we're always.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean, where it's like, is Gray going to be on the ship, or
Now Gray
are they
has
gonna join
options.
the Guardians?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's options. There's a body. You're corporeal.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go off because you guys just said everything so beautifully and perfect. But I cried. I cried at the hug. The hug just destroyed me. I couldn't. I loved everything about it. I love that everybody on the ship cares so much. Like Hugh taking Adira to the bar to play darts, and then just leaving them to do it, to go sit with Saru, was just a great moment, because he was like, I'm going to give them some space, and then I'm going to go sit down. And then Saru is asking about them. And I was like, everybody on this ship cares so much. And it really is that found family and ship family. And I love that so much.
You have beautiful words, Julian. You just shared them.
Oh, thank you. I think Hawk said it earlier. Like, so many moving points in this episode, moving pieces. This week's episode we've talked about already is taking us to Navarre, which the sets, and they're using the awesome AR walls now, which are magic. It's so
AR
awesome.
walls.
So we go to Navarre. Stamets is 100% working out of his comfort zone, because he is a very emotional scientist in a good way. Like, he cares about his work, and going to work with Vulcans and Romulans is definitely out of his comfort zone. But it's cool to see him care so much because of that relationship that's evolved with Book, and how much he cares about trying to make that situation right, because he's kind of been through it. Both these actors, it has to be said, put on an amazing performances with this whole cast of this week, but them, kind of specifically along with Blue and Ian. What did we think about the stuff on Navarre and at the Institute, and then Book really like getting his first semblance of some kind of peace of mind after mind melding with Turina?
I was so hyped for the mind meld. I knew it was coming, and as soon as it happened, it was just a gorgeous scene, and it's what he needed so bad. So I knew when they were going to do the mind meld that it wasn't just going to be that part where like the birds are falling and it's like the crash and seeing the huge anomaly. Like, I was hoping that it would be like she would see how much like love he had and what pain he felt going through it. So after that scene where she was like, oh, I have all the info I need, and he's like, wait, let me see them one last time, I was like, ooh, I was just bawling on my couch. And the
Just
kid
real
looks
quick,
back at him.
I know. To answer Haven's question on Twitch, an AR wall, if you watch The Mandalorian and realize that they weren't going to any sets, everything that any locations, everything they used were on these long panels of millions of LEDs that the digital artists are able to put, instead of using green screen and blue screen, actual images of what is going to be in the episode.
Yeah.
That makes it so the actors can act better, so light can actually reflect off of them. It's revolutionary technology, and The Mandalorian started it, and now it's on Discovery, and it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah,
And you can tell.
Yeah,
The production value is so good.
They so everything is in Unreal, so they can actually move things on set if it doesn't look right on the wall, and everything is camera tracked, so every time they move, the whole image moves behind them, so it's like they're moving in that space. It's amazing.
And it compensates for depth
so
perception
exactly.
as well.
Yeah. Oh, so cool. I'm gonna go back to this scene.
Yes.
But I think my favorite part of this sequence is when is not only just the mind meld look amazingly beautiful going in, but going out of it, and then you see President Tarina's face, and you can see that she feels that emotion, but she's suppressing it. Like that acting right at that one little moment was so good and so painful to watch, because you right afterwards she's like, I have no words that I can express how much pain you've gone through, and that was a beautiful moment.
And people don't realize that about acting too, is that like people, we don't like feeling emotions. We try to hide them all the time. Like, think about any time you've cried. You try to bottle it up until you can't. Like, you can always tell when somebody's like overselling an emotion versus like actually acting it, because it's guarded. So the way she does it is so well, because on top of that, you're like, oh my God, you're Vulcaning it. But also it's like, she's so fucking good at her job. Oh my God.
Well, and that line she delivers, like, my condolences aren't enough. Aren't adequate. Aaron, anything on this?
I just thought it was really beautiful, and I'm glad that book found some resolution, because it's pretty damn sad. So, yeah.
Hawk?
Yep.
Yeah, everybody's pretty much covered it. I mean, the fact that book did this trying to help and provide information like he did last week, and that he wanted to help, he wanted to get them that information they needed, and that to try and solve the mystery of the DMA, and that his mind meld, that it was a frightening thing for him to go and relive those memories, and Stamets knew that. It ultimately disproves Stamets' theory, but at the same time, Book still gets what he needs out of it, and that not even realizing that, that's what he needed. Just a lovely moment.
And I like that Book does that, and I also hope that this translates into not like having Stamets lose any confidence, because getting proven wrong in this situation is part of this process. You need to be proven wrong in order to get more facts about what this thing is. You're not going to learn anything until you cancel out every other option of what this isn't. So I think it's really important, and he's smart, and Vulcans are smart. They're going to figure this thing out. That's why we have a season of television. So let's quickly talk about Tilly's journey, because it is important, and we know that she's been off, and I forgot who mentioned it earlier. She's been going to all these people, I think it was Aaron, that she has respect, or sorry, Eric, it was one of the E's.
One of the E's.
One of the
One
E's.
of those guys.
And she last week she goes to Culber and tells him not okay, when she kind of goes all Stametsy on Adira, and now she's gone to Saru, and now she's out of her comfort zone, doing this thing with the Kuat Maladi, and she tried to eat mac and cheese, which she hated. What do we think about her journey and what's making her feel off?
I think what's making her feel off is that she doesn't like mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Like what
Agree.
What human being
I
doesn't
love you,
like mac
Tilly,
and
but
cheese?
it's the best.
There's something wrong with Tilly, obviously.
Hey, nothing silly about Tilly.
Aw.
Other than that, I do like that she knows that she likes being in Starfleet, but she doesn't know where her place is. And I think that's what we are like. I'm 40. Who knows where my place is? I don't know.
I'm with you, man.
I thought I know by
No
this
person
point.
actually
No.
knows what they're doing, kids.
Right?
So
That's what adulting is. It's being lost and then trying to find your place, and then being lost a little bit longer, then trying to find it. Hopefully you find that place, but you never know.
Yeah, I like seeing more of Tilly, and like I love her as a character to begin with, but then also seeing like the way she handles situations, the way that people see her. I don't think she even thinks that people think as highly of her as they do. Because, like, she's so hard on herself, and then she's always worried that she's, like, putting someone off or talking too much or doing whatever. So it's really nice when she has that moment of absolute candor, and the other person's like, like, you're worried that you're putting me off by being so enthusiastic, but you're not. Like, it's okay to be enthusiastic for this mission. And for Michael to choose her to go with her on the mission, like, all these different things, and Saru pointing out, what she's capable of. I get the same vibe that, like, she does love being in Starfleet and feels like, that's what's good for her. But as far as her being, like, in the same position on the ship, like, she also has that hesitation of being a lieutenant. She feels like she hasn't deserved it, but let's be honest. Everyone deserves being lieutenant on that ship after everything
they've been through. Yeah.
But I am excited to see where this is going, because, I mean, it is the future. The Federation is regrowing. Like, there's so many different things. Like, Saru, if you would have told me, like, 2 seasons ago he would have, gone and worked with the Kelpians and then just did this kind of adjunct thing for a bit, and now he's back on the ship, I would have been like, that's weird. But if Tilly leaves the ship and she does something else, or she finds some different position that fits her better, like, as long as it makes sense for the character and the actor was cool with the choice, like, then I'm cool with it. So I'm more so excited to see. I would like to see her actually feel like she's in a good spot and not questioning herself as much.
Yeah.
So
I think
I'm excited for her.
I think it's apparent that she loves being a scientist and she likes being in Starfleet, but have we found out why she joined in the first place? Like,
she talks about it, like, way back in season 1 or 2. She does it to piss off her mom.
Yeah, right.
It's a weird. It's something to do with the mother.
But like, those motivations are long gone. Like,
yeah,
who knows why she
family.
wants to?
Yeah,
but
that's probably why she feels lost. She's like, I jumped to the future with all my friends, and now I don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The weird thing about Tilly in the series is that I think she's asked to wear too many hats in any given season or any given episode.
Yeah,
basically,
because she went from science officer and engineering to the bridge to first officer, and that under Saru. She seems to have to put out like a million fires, and then, like, occasionally, there's a babysitting job and with her name on it. And in this episode, they asked her to go fight the Quatmalat.
Yep.
Hand to hand.
They hit it. I love
sword
when they
combat.
hit her the sword and she drops it and she's like, "Sorry, I moisturized this morning." I'm like, I would die for you, Tilly. I love you.
Or she immediately turns around and says, "I choose life. I choose life."
Yep, I choose life.
Totally choose life. Very much
the
choose to
opposite
live.
of Killy. Like, I love it.
So it's no wonder that she tends to question, like, what her role is in that, and she is basically wearing too many hats, and that she needs to find where her lane is, where her path ends.
Maybe a chef hat. Maybe she could cook for the ship. I don't know.
Yeah, her mac and cheese would not be good.
Anything?
Yeah,
No,
she wouldn't make mac and cheese. She would hate it.
Anything else on Tilly? No.
We love her.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
No. All right, folks. Let's rate this episode out of 10 sword fights. Aaron, we'll start with you.
I really liked this episode. I'm giving it 10 out of 10. It was just like, the pace was awesome. The stories were nice, like the character moments. And I just have no complaints. I thought it was great.
Awesome. Brittany.
Yeah, this was like a perfect Star Trek episode for me. I kept thinking, I fucking love Star Trek the whole time I was watching it, so 10 out of 10.
Eric.
I really like this episode too. I thought it was phenomenal, but I'm gonna give it a 9.5 because there's no Jet Reno.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Still no Jet
missing
Reno.
element.
Where is she?
Oh, I don't want to be a shill, but
No
I'm gonna go
pressure.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
10 sword
So, I
fights.
love
for
how he
this
says I don't want to
episode.
be a shill when the rest of us are
I
like,
don't
10,
want to be
10.
a shell.
He's just counting his
Look
Paramount money
Look how
right
much
now.
do we had to discuss
Where's your
on this
$90,000,
one
Paul?
episode tonight.
One episode.
I'm busy,
Yeah.
Ben. I'm busy.
And what's great about that is that nothing felt like it was given priority over another story. Like, everything got its shared screen time.
Mhm.
Yeah, nothing felt
guys
extraneous.
were
Like, we
giving
could
me
have
a lot
done
of
without
pressure.
that.
If anything, when it went to the commercial break, sometimes I was like, wait, this can't be the end of the episode. I need to see what happens to Gray and Adira.
I have to say this because I was gonna agree with it at the end of the show. It's in a mailbag we're gonna read, and he tweeted about it earlier. So I'm gonna do it. And like Hawk, I don't want to be a shill, but yeah, 10 out of 10. This show has been like
Yes.
this season so far is shaping up to
track.
be something very, very special. And,
Honestly, it would be a 10 for me too, but Jet.
Yeah, no Jet Reno.
Jet Reno.
Haven gives it
Had
a
to make the joke.
9.9 also because of no Jet Reno. Jet Reno. All right, guys, let's get to the subspace to poll and mailbag.
Hailing frequencies are open.
Boom. And so this week we asked everybody what they thought about episode 403, Choose to Live, on the Twitterverse, and these were the results. Who wants to read them?
Me, because they're punny.
Okay.
73% said Nivar in doubt. 15% said the math holds. 8% said a bit gray. And 4% said lost cause.
The eyes have it, I believe. The eyes have it.
I was Nivar in doubt.
Let's get into the mailbag. Hawk, you're up first.
All right. So SMK wrote, love the thing of the week. I'm not sure what that exactly means, the thing of the week. Anyway,
I think theme of the week.
I think they
maybe?
meant like,
okay.
Yeah, the theme like with the pods and the people in cryo.
All right, let's try that. Love the
More like
theme
monster
of the week.
week.
Oh yeah, could be character. Yeah, anyways, character work and arc movement. This show is firing on all cylinders, and I'm so glad the writers moved the show setting to the distant future so we don't get bogged down in the history of the Trek universe. I'm not the biggest fan of the Co-op Malat, but I thought the plot this week was good use of this new wrinkle in Romulan Navarre society. Finally, Mary Wiseman really shines this week. I really appreciate what they are doing with Tilly.
Nice. Good stuff. Aaron, you're up with Yum Yum Pods.
Okay. Yum Yum Pods wrote, we're just happy that Wilson Cruz has been getting much more to work with this season, and that Culver is in positions of counseling and being the medical officer jobs he probably should have started off with in this show. Sadly, we're still not fans of Michael's mother, and we've tried, but she just doesn't click as a character for us and is one we'd rather not keep seeing. I disagree, but
They didn't like the
entitled to your
Co-op
opinion.
Malat plot.
Hey,
That's fun to say.
not everybody.
Yeah.
That's
You
okay.
don't have to like.
I'd like
everybody.
to see her
Exactly.
more because I don't really know how I feel about her either, to be honest. I like their dynamic, but I don't know her yet. I don't know
Yeah.
if that seems weird.
No,
I don't know
that makes
you.
sense. Yeah. Keep going, Eric, because you have Fernandez.
All right. Fernanda wrote, Tilly is my favorite. That being said, the episode got a lot to do and kept me paying attention the entire time. I like that the show is using some elements that were introduced in Picard, namely the Quat Malat, so we get a sense of continuity with the new shows also. And everything Navarre for me is great. I like the moral conundrum and the resolution very much Star Trek to it. And also some Peace to Poor book. Oh, yeah, some Peace to Poor book. I did not really care for the Gray storyline in the last episode, but this one, I was in tears. Great work in there. Overall, I found it very solid.
Nice. And last but not least, Brittany, you have Havens.
This episode was dying. This episode was such a good change of pace for episodes. Oh, for the episodes. I can't even read. Well, while it wasn't my favorite episode, it was definitely one not to be missed. To quote David Majors, a previous guest on the show, season 4 is batting 1,000. 1,000 is really high.
It is.
Yeah.
No, like it there's not been a miss so far. It is batting 1,000.
Oh, I agree.
I didn't want to say it because I knew we were going to say it earlier, but like I really want to say like the show has not missed a beat so
Mhm.
far this season.
Agreed.
Um,
There is a
So,
beat missing. Jet Reno.
Jet Reno. All right, guys, we're at the end of this part of the show. I'm gonna announce things differently. Don't go anywhere because you're gonna get the interview. I'm just gonna say things differently. But after I close out the show, you're gonna get the Bonnie Gordon interview. So just remember that, guys. This has been an amazing 3 episodes of Star Trek. Amazing 3 weeks of Discovery. Can't wait to get into next week. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Right after the show ends, join us on our Discord for a encore watch along of Choose to Live. That's going to be a lot of fun. But that is going to do it for us. So for Brittany, for Eric, for Aaron, for Hawk, I say to you, live long and prosper. Jolon True. Good night.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.